What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Football, sis. I'm Amanda, and
I'm Ange.
And yes, we're together. What the fuck is up, guys? We are so excited to roll into week number 13. We are, 2 weeks away? 2 weeks away from the playoffs, right?
2 weeks,
yeah. Most of you week 15 playoffs, and if your league is set up differently like that, a man probably set it up because that's fucking crazy that they would let week 18 roll into the playoffs because it shouldn't. So we are onwards and upwards. We are game planning to not only win your week to hopefully be able to get that first week playoff bye, or to get your ass in the playoffs. We're also planning for the championship, baby. So we're going to get right into it. We're not even going to rip off any band-aids, except I do want to know, Ange, how'd your fantasy week go?
It went okay, except the one league I had Baker Mayfield, and he just, it's even worse when you have a player who starts and then goes out midway because it just ruins it. And I should have won, and I didn't even score 100 points. But the other league, I sat Baker for Brissett, and that was my gut told me to do it, ladies. So follow the gut if it's a gut feeling, and then it worked out. So not too bad. How about yours?
Hell yeah, I love to hear it. I did also trust my gut on something and it worked out terribly. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take it, risk it for the biscuit. And I was like, I don't like Trevor Lawrence this week. And I played fucking Mason Rudolph over Trevor Lawrence. And like, nonetheless, I would have lost that league anyways. I was losing by a long shot. So I was like, whatever, we'll go upside. That didn't work out for me, but I did win my league I'm in with my husband. So I won that one. And then I won it by solely 5 points, and that'll be my play of the week. I'll bitch about that in a hot second. And then I also won our annual girls league, Sundays for the girls, which felt good because I want to make sure I get into the playoffs and I don't want to take as many losses as possible. But that'll roll me right into my play of the week, which is not a good play of the week. Okay. It's a shitty play of the week because what the fuck was Brock Purdy doing? Throwing 3 interceptions in the first quarter. I posted it on our Instagram stories because I was like in depths of despair because here I am. I think it was Daniel Jones. No, I sacked Dak Prescott because in no world did I think the Dallas Cowboys would have a shot.
Yes, it was a crazy game. I almost turned it off and went and did stuff because I was like, well, this is a blowout. Why am I even watching this? Took the dog out for a walk, came back, boom, they're tied. And then it was like a game all of a sudden. And I never thought it would happen either.
No. And I was like, I'm not playing Dak Prescott against a good Eagles defense. I'm not doing it. So I trust my gut, played Brock Purdy. Fuck you, Brock Purdy. He threw the first interception. And I'm like, it'll buff out. Then the second, and then the third. And then the guy in my husband's league messaged in the chat. He's like, all I needed was Brock Purdy to score 5 points for me to win. 5 points. And every time he's like, oh no, I might actually beat her. I was like, I hate my life. Nonetheless, I ended up pulling out the victory. We're good. We're good to go. But sincerely, what were you do? Did he like miss his glasses prescription? It was rough going. Babyface Brock Purdy has got some shit to think about next week. What's your play of the weekend?
My play of the week is good old Jameis. You cannot have a week when Jameis Winston is not your play of the week. And I'm sad, but I'm glad Jacksonville will be back. But Jameis Winston just adds that little bit of spice to the week. But his trick play score, kind of that trick play to, I had the name in my head. It was an obscure player.
It wasn't
Olowski, something. Okay. But it wasn't even like this guy was wide open. Okay, I just could pass it to my quarterback. No, he had to scramble a little bit. Jameis is down there waving his hand. And if he were mic'd up, I would pay money to hear what he's yelling to the Lord down there. Throw it to me, my boy. And then he's in the touchdown or makes the touchdown, does that little celebration where they throw the dice. And it was just great. I love Jameis.
I know. It was so cute. I also think in my opinion, just for the culture of the Giants, it would be in their best interest to keep Jameis Winston around because I just also think he fits the goofy vibe of the entire Giants team. Keep that man around. I did see a tweet or a meme or something. It was they next year should just have Jameis Winston be able to float from team to team, whoever needs a quarterback, just so we can always be watching Jameis Winston football.
Well, apparently he made a comment that he would play another position to still play with the team because he loves the team that much. He loves the guys. So, who knows? Maybe we'll see him as a tight end.
Throw him out there as a kicker. Let's see what happens, right? There's been a ton of kicker injuries. I love it. All right. Well, I'm going to roll into my vet of the week, and that leads me right back into the Giants because my vet of the week is Wanda Robinson. He had an amazing game. I think everyone's always a little nervous to start Wandale because it's just been hit or miss. He isn't a true wide receiver one either. He's a smaller dude, but first play of the game, he scores a touchdown, or first drive of the game, he scores a touchdown. And I think every woman who started Wandale Robinson took a collective deep breath. Me too. Because anytime we give advice and it works out early, I'm like, now I could take a mid-game rest, baby. I'm happy with it. But he came out hot. He did so well. And again, just the connection with Jameis Winston, and we'll hope that continues with Jackson Dart. It was, even though they're losing, the Giants are just so fun to watch, because even when they take the L, they kept the Lions on their toes. That's for sure. What's your play of the week or your bet of the week? Bet of the week.
I was like, wait. So vet of the week is not just one person, but is a collective unit of the Browns freaking defense, because they were unreal. And I'm so glad that I stashed them earlier in the year so that I could play them for these moments right now. Geno Smith sucks. He sucks so bad. And I kind of felt bad for him, and now I just don't, because you're an elite quarterback. Like, get your shit together, man, right? But he was just getting pounded all night. And it wasn't just Myles Garrett taking the role. It was all of the Browns, defenders there. And it was just really cool. They broke the Browns sack record. And then Myles Garrett's I think 5 or 6 games away from breaking the all-time sack record. So I would love to see that happen. That's amazing. So the entire Browns defense, and I don't say many nice things about the Browns. So
no, and I'm going to lead right back into the Browns with my rookie of the week and give Shedeur Sanders some freaking flowers here. Because here's the thing. I hated him, right? So cocky. And look, don't get me wrong. I like a good, full of yourself, cocky type of dude, because I like that energy, right? If you're that guy, act like that guy. But he handled himself so poorly leading into the draft. Well, then he kind of got, obviously they shafted in the draft, but then the fake prank phone call. Then I was just feeling bad for Shedeur Sanders. And so he didn't get the start, all the injuries and the suckiness that is the Browns offense. He finally got to do it. And he really did light a fire under that offense. Even Myles Garrett was like, oh shit, they completed their first over 50-yard pass in 15 consecutive games, which is asinine to think about. So you hope that, again, this continues him. And you never want anything bad. I hope he has a good season. I hope he continues out strong. And maybe, just maybe, probably not, but maybe this is their quarterback of the future. But we've said that about every fucking player, and every player gets better when they leave the goddamn Browns team. But Shedeur Sanders, you'll get the flowers for my rookie of the week this week. How about your rookie of the week, Ange?
Rookie of the week for me is Luther Burden. So he didn't, have the most maybe big flashy game, but the Bears offense is incorporating those rookies more into the offense. We've seen Colston Loveland do a lot of big things. Kyle Monangai do a lot of big things. Luther Burden's now making kind of his presence known. I think going into the second half of the season, those guys are going to be reliable targets, especially with guys like Rome Odunze just not performing like the flash of in the pot he started off as. So he completed, I'm trying to look at my notes here. Caught 3 passes for 46 yards. So great. And I think he's going to keep getting better as Caleb Williams progresses. I think everyone put a little bit of doubt on the Chicago Bears, and they've kind of proven everybody wrong.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, they beat the Steelers, which was sad, womp womp. Because the Steelers should have won. Let's be so honest. But maybe if Mason shaves his mustache, they would win. Who knows? All right. Well, let's move into some housekeeping here with the injury report. There's not a ton to talk about. T. Higgins did have a concussion. He's already ruled out for week 13. So keep your eye on that, or update yourself on that. Alvin Kamara, MRI on his knee was done today. Let's keep an eye on what happens with his availability. Baker Mayfield, shoulder injury. We saw him leave after the second. So just keep your eye on that. JJ McCarthy, concussion protocol. Rodgers is still dealing with that wrist. We don't know who's going to be their quarterback for week 13. Josh Jacobs, again, availability unknown at this point. Emmanuel Wilson held that shit down though, man. Drake London, again, we're still waiting an update there as well. That's the injuries as we know it. Always keep your eye on injury reports though, because sometimes there's those sneaky guys that pop out of nowhere. But we're going to waste no time and get right into the nitty gritty of why the fuck you're here and talk about games. The good news is week 13 gives us 0 bye weeks. So all of your bye week woes are gone this week. We are all in full effect, and some housekeeping to keep in mind. There are 3 games on Thursday. Okay. So it's Thanksgiving. Get your shit in order before you worry about the dinner, okay? Make sure you have your lineup set. So 3 games on Thursday, 1 game on Black Friday. Different schedule this week, so make sure you're there. Any guy who plays early, a guy who plays on Thursday or Friday, they should be locked into their positional spots. What I mean by that is, if you have a wide receiver, make sure they're playing in the wide receiver spot. And even if your better wide receiver plays later, you put them in the flex. Why do we do that? Because if you need to change your roster later, you'd rather have that wide receiver. Let's say you're Drake London, you put him in your regular wide receiver spot, well, then he gets ruled out. Now you can only play a wide receiver. You want to make sure he's in that flex position. That way, because he plays later, I believe he plays later. I'm saying that, yes, he does. So then he plays later. That way, if for some reason he did get ruled out last minute, someone gets sick, anything. Shit happens, right? We watch Emeka Egbuka come down with an illness and everyone was clenching their pearls. What are we going to do, right? You want to be able to have someone you can pivot, throw a tight end and throw a running back in. So that's how we want to roll our lineups. But let's go ahead and dive in to our first matchup of the week. And that's on my docket. We've got Green Bay versus Detroit. Now, we are playing in Detroit. I like to say that because Jared Goff knowingly does perform better at home in the Dome. If this was at Green Bay, our conversation would be different. Green Bay, though, pretty simple. Your must start is going to be Josh Jacobs. If he plays, you start him. Same thing with Emmanuel Wilson. If Josh Jacobs doesn't play, Emmanuel Wilson can be started. I'm pretty confident on both of those. I'm not going to sit Josh Jacobs. And Emmanuel Wilson looked good. Is this going to be a harder defense for him? Yes, absolutely. But I still think this is a solid go here. Now, keep in mind that Detroit does have a pass funnel defense. What this means is they're going to funnel everything into the pass and try to stop the run. I'm still not sitting Josh Jacobs or Emmanuel Wilson just because of the work alone. So just keep in mind of that. Now, that means Jordan Love is a great streaming quarterback option for week number 13. I would be starting him over guys like Lawrence, Purdy, Darnold, even Daniel Jones with another hard matchup this week. I would, though, start Jacoby Brissett or Bo Nix ahead of Jordan Love. So he's a streaming option, not a must start. Your wide receivers, to me, Christian Watson is a must start, in my opinion. It's a great matchup for him. I favor him over Dobbs. Dobbs is not a full sit. You might need him in your lineup due to injury. So I think you can start both Watson and Dobbs. It's just very roster dependent. I'm starting Christian Watson if I have him because I like that matchup, unless you're stacked in the wide receiver room. I would also start Romeo Doubs over Darnell Mooney, Jakobi Meyers, Deebo Samuels, and DJ Moore this week due to matchup purposes. So keep that in mind. I'm sitting the tight end, Luke Musgraves, from the Green Bay Packers. And I'm playing the Green Bay defense. Could you potentially pivot from them this week? Yes, you could totally pivot from them this week. And just moving the camera if you're watching on YouTube. Oh, she fell. Don't worry. She fell, but we're okay. I just gave her the most stern mom look. If you're not watching on YouTube, I was like, stop it. Don't. If you don't know, that's the dynamic here for sure. Nonetheless, sitting Luke Musgraves, the defense for the Green Bay Packers, though, I hate to tell you, I wouldn't drop them. If for some reason you can roster two defenses and start somebody else, go for it. But if you don't want to have a second defense and you don't want to drop Green Bay, just send it this week and hope for the best there. Moving on to Detroit, your must starts are Jahmyr Gibbs, 50 points. I'm sorry if you played against him, RIP to your week. That's unfortunate. You're starting Gibbs, you're starting Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. Jared Goff's a streaming option. I'm starting Jared Goff over Purdy, Dart, Tua. I am going to sit Jared Goff behind Brissett, Love, Bo Nix. This is a hard matchup. I'm so confident in Jared Goff at home, but I would still start Jakobi. I would start Jordan Love ahead of Jared Goff, and I also would start Bo Nix ahead of Jared Goff. I'm sitting the goose egg, Jameson Williams. And I joke he's going to put up 20 points this week, but it's a fucking bad matchup for him in the wide receiver position. So I'm not as super excited about that. And I just don't want anything with that. I'm sitting Montgomery as well. I think you have better options. Woody Marks, Devin Neal, if he ends up taking over the backfield from Kamara. I even think Gainwell is a better matchup over Monty this week. And there's no tight end relevance for the Lions with Sam Laporta out. So that is the Green Bay Packers versus the Lions.
Okay. Moving into my next matchup. So another Thursday night game that we get to enjoy here. This is the 4:30 game, I believe, on Thursday night. Kansas City versus Dallas. So on the Kansas City side, there are some very clear starts. So we're starting Mahomes. We're starting Kareem Hunt. Even if, we did see that Pacheco was back. So that might change things a little bit. I think Hunt is more explosive than Pacheco at this point. I think he's playing tougher football. He's getting those goal line touches. So I guess with Pacheco kind of back in action, that doesn't make Hunt a full start. So I think when I did my notes, I didn't know that. So we'll talk about that. And then Rashee Rice did not log a practice, I think, on Monday, but I wouldn't be worried about that. He's a full send. And then I'd also start Travis Kelce against this Dallas defense. Really, the only guy to talk about is Xavier Worthy. I think he is a startable player for sure because of this very juicy Dallas defense matchup. Even though we saw Dallas defense step up a little bit, they did acquire some new pieces that made them a little bit more, kind of defensive. But I'm going to start Xavier Worthy over guys like Alec Pierce, DJ Moore, even Rome Odunze this week because he has a better matchup. And I'm sitting the Dallas offense for sure. Or defense. I do that all of the time.
You're sitting the Dallas defense? No, you're sitting the...
Kansas City defense. I'm sitting the Kansas City defense. Oh my goodness. I typed Dallas defense in there. All right, moving on to the Dallas side. Pretty much everybody's a must start for me here. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Javonte Williams, and Jake Ferguson are all starts. That's a solid offensive unit. You got to trust them. Hopefully CeeDee Lamb makes more catches this week. Maybe he was mad because he got benched and for that one play. Did we found out why? Yeah, because they missed the curfew.
Yeah, they were gambling. They were degenerate. But you know what? If I had big dick money, I'd probably be a little degenerate too. So fuck it.
I mean, it's like dangling a carrot. Like, you're in Vegas, don't go do it. Well, you can't help it. And then as far as the defense, I'm going to sit the Dallas defense as well. So pretty simple matchup.
Absolutely. All right, moving over to my next game, I have Cincinnati versus Baltimore. And guess who's back again? Joey B's back, baby. Or as we know it anyways. And I hope to God he doesn't do something stupid like dye his hair bleach blonde because he looks listen, I don't think Joey B is attractive. This could be a hot take, but like, I don't see it. All I see is Macaulay Culkin, and like, it's not okay.
You put a wig on him, he's a lady.
Yes. I'm not into the Macaulay Culkin vibe. Like, it's just not Culkin, whatever. He just it looks like I'm watching Home Alone, and I can't hang. He's not my cup of tea.
A couple years ago, Macaulay Culkin was Joe Burrow for Halloween.
Oh, that makes sense.
Have never seen that? Look it up because it's hilarious. It's like spitting image.
Yeah. No, just not. It's just like not for me. Like, now we can talk about Jalen Hurts and like that's my cup of tea. My God. Nonetheless, Joey B is back. I'm not playing Joey B though. That's my personal take, right? I'm going to sit him down. I'm going to wait a week. I'm going to see what happens with his health first. Also, the Baltimore defense is heating up. They've considerably gotten better since they started. At first, we were like, you can play everyone against the Baltimore defense. You can't anymore. I'm going to sit Joey B down. I would start guys like obvious guys like Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, Maye, Allen, Hurts, Stafford, Herbert. If you need to hear it, all those guys come ahead of Joe Burrow. I want to wait a week and see what happens. He would be a good stash though if he's out there and you want to keep him on your bench for the playoffs. We already said T. Higgins is out. So out for week 13. Your two must-starts for the Cincinnati Bengals is Jamar Chase and Chase Brown. Throw them in your lineup, lock them in. Don't think too much about it. I personally am not going to lean towards like a Yoshiva flex this week. I was hot on him last week. I do think that they're just going to use a lot of like Fant's back, Sticky Gesicki back, and Mike Gesicki's back. So like I think they're just going to spread the ball around a little bit too much for me to feel confident with the secondary wide receiver.
Somebody else that was getting, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but that was kind of stealing from Yoshiva. So
yeah, there's just too many, like there's enough weapons that I don't want to play roulette with Yoshiva this week. And then I don't want any part of the Cincinnati Bengals defense. When it comes to Baltimore, it's simple for the other reason. You're playing all of your heavy hitters, very similar to Dallas, right? You're playing Lamar Jackson, you're playing Derrick Henry, you're playing Zay Flowers, you're playing Mark Andrews, period, end of story. And I don't think that, well, no, I wouldn't play the Ravens defense this week. I would pivot away from them. I think you have better upside options out there as well.
Okay, very cool. All right, moving into my next game. This is the Black Friday game.
Black Friday. Ooh,
Black Friday.
It's our favorite day.
It's our favorite day. We traditionally, every year, go Black Friday shopping. We once sat outside a Best Buy in the cold, in lawn chairs. And here's the best part. We weren't going to get anything.
We didn't buy anything.
Oh, the damn table. We were just going for the experience. It's on we checked it off of our life bucket list. So, but we are going to go out, but then we can enjoy some football. So at 3:00 is like the best time. Like that would be like my ideal. I live on the West Coast. I get to watch football in the mid-afternoon perfectness. All right. So for the Chicago side, the really only guy I'm even going to think about starting would be Caleb Williams. I think he's been pretty consistent, but against this Eagles defense, it is pretty tough, right? So it's a tough matchup. I think Caleb Williams is scrappy enough to kind of pull it out. I think he has the volume and the players to throw to. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. They're going to try to keep up with the Eagles defense. As far as starts over him,
I would start Jacoby Brissett ahead of Caleb Williams. Obviously, Drake Maye. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think where you drafted Caleb Williams. He was a little bit deeper on your draft board. But I would also start like Jordan Love this week over Caleb Williams, just solely due to matchup. It would be really risky, but like, could you think about going Joe Burrow ahead of Caleb Williams? Yeah. It would just be risky because we don't know how Joey B is going to look back first NFL game after his injury, but Caleb has a hard matchup this week for sure.
It's hard. I mean, I'm in a situation where I have to play him because Baker could be out. and nobody picking Teddy Bridgewater up. So, all right. Then moving into wide receivers, we got Rhamondre. He just hasn't been great. We're sitting him. I'm starting guys over Troy Franklin over him, Christian Watson over him for sure. DJ Moore is a little bit of a different conversation. He had a better game last week. Maybe he's becoming a little bit more relevant, but against this Eagles defense, I'm sitting him as well. I'm going to play Jakobi Meyers over him, Keenan Allen over him. They have much better matchups. As far as running backs go, we saw Kyle Monangai take more of a lead. He kind of out-snapped a little teeny bit. It was like very a fraction of a bit, but I think he looks better than DeAndre Swift. Not that DeAndre Swift isn't a bad, like it was not like a Nick Chubb situation, right? Where he's just falling off the face of the earth. If I had to pick between the two, because Philly's a little less stingy against the run, I'm going to go with Monangai just because he's more relevant at the goal line. He's been scoring touchdowns, at 4 touchdowns in the last couple games or 4 games. So I'm going to trust him a little bit more. I'm going to sit him over or start him over guys like Tyrone Tracy, definitely David Montgomery for sure. But I might go maybe Bam Knight if Trey Benson, I'm thinking of the right one. I get the Cardinals and I get the Buccaneers mixed up in my brain. Right. I don't know why. And maybe Kamani Vidal again if Hampton. And that's another thing we didn't talk about is there's all these like questionable returning running backs, right? That we want to see back for our fantasy relevance. Bucky. Moving into Colston Loveland, this is just a tough matchup for Colston Loveland. The Eagles allow second fewest points per game to the tight end position. So I'm sitting Colston Loveland this week. Fannin, Otten, Ingram are all better options over him. And then I'm sitting the defense here as well for the Bears. Into the Philly side, it's pretty simple. You're starting everyone. You're starting Jalen Hurts. You're starting Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley. Yeah, he's been a little bit disappointing. You drafted him for his big plays, but you still have to trust him, in my opinion, and Dallas Goedert as well. And then you're obviously, starting the Eagles defense because they are dominant.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen some conversations of like, Tank Bigsby when he's on the field, he's so much more explosive than Saquon right now. Just sit Saquon, play Tank. And I don't think that Nick Sirianni is going to do that. He's going to keep sending it on Saquon. Also, Saquon is that kind of guy who's going to take that and like internalize, fix it, and improve. I have faith in it. The Eagles do have a fairly easy end of season schedule too. So keep in mind that does give them a good playoff outlook for you as a fantasy manager, right? Because again, I don't give a fuck if this team wins or loses. I want my players to score big, like our boy AJ finally hooked everybody up, right? We took a big old deep breath on that one. All right, moving on to my matchup, San Francisco versus Cleveland. We got our must starts of CMC and George Kittle. Just lock them in and trust that. Now, obviously we see San Francisco coming against a hard Cleveland defense, but the San Francisco 49ers coach is smart as shit, okay? He's going to scheme to try to wear out the Cleveland defense and try to keep Purdy safe, okay? They know that Garrett Wilson, that's not it. I say that every time. Myles Garrett. Woo, synonymous in my brain. Myles Garrett is trying to come against that sack total, right? He's trying to get that record, which I'm here for. I love that for him. But they're going to try to be strategic to keep Purdy safe. Nonetheless, I'm not interested in starting Brock Purdy at all. I'm starting Jordan Love, Brissett, Goff, Bo, Darnold, Prescott. Shit, I would even risk it for the biscuit on Caleb Williams ahead of Brock Purdy this week. I'm sitting in Pearsall. Obviously, Ricky Dickey has been really upsetting ever since he's come back. The first week, 1.8 points. This week, like 2 point something points. They're just not connecting, right? There was opportunity. I think we all would have been really happy if they would have just connected 1 or 2 times, but they're just not connecting right now, and I don't trust it. I'm going to sit Pearsall over guys like Michael Wilson, Zay Flowers, Troy Franklin would all get started ahead. And again, you have so much more options this week because there's no bye weeks. Juwan Jennings, I think this is a really risky stream. He's connecting better with Pearsall or with Purdy than Pearsall is with Purdy. Nonetheless, I think Jennings could be a potential stream, but again, it would just depend on what your roster looks like. In my opinion, I'm trying to sit him. I'm not trying to start anyone against the Cleveland defense other than the guys I already mentioned. But since there's no buys, you probably could keep him on your bench safely. I do think the 49ers defense, wonderful streaming option this week against a rookie quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. And that moves me right into Cleveland. Very easy here. You're going to start Cleveland's defense, run it back, put him in your lineup. Judkins is a start health dependent. Obviously, keep your eye on that. He did go down with an injury. He came back into the game, but I just always like to mention it just in case something were to happen there. Sanders is a sit. Fucking dumbass Jerry Jeudy is a sit. That idiot. I literally opened my, we just built this like big back deck thing on my home. And I opened up the kitchen window and my husband was sitting outside because it was kind of fairly nice out. And I'm like, what an idiot. And he was like, why? And I'm like, because he just got cocky. He caught the ball and then was like walking backwards and someone punched it out. Turnover, fumble, because he's an idiot, right?
Well, this has happened so many times. Like, what?
I know. And he's their wide receiver one. Goodbye, Jerry Jeudy. Same thing with Isaiah Bond. No, thank you. And you could technically, like, Fannon's always going to be a potential streaming start. So I'm not against you throwing Fannon in your lineup. I would sit Fannon over like Schultz this week, Hunter Henry, Goddard. So just keep that in mind. He's not a full set. I'm not starting Njoku. I think you can pivot away from him. Fannon is getting a bulk of the targets at this point.
I personally dropped Njoku. I'm kind of done. I don't think that it's even something that you need to keep on your roster anymore at all. So. Oh, I'm up. Okay. All right. Moving into my next game, Jacksonville versus Tennessee. On the Jacksonville side, this is a little bit of a different tune because we might hear players that we haven't traditionally heard because they're playing a booty Tennessee, defense. So Travis Etienne is for sure a starting option, and the defense for me here is a streaming or a start option if you have the Jacksonville Jaguars defense for sure against a weak offense. Trevor Lawrence could be a streamer if you need somebody. Again, like Amanda mentioned, you have everybody to pick from. So you might not be in a situation where you're like, ooh, who do I start because so-and-so is out. So it changes the game just a little bit, but he's definitely a streamer. I would start him over Purdy. I would start him even over Daniel Jones this week because of their tougher matchups against this easier matchup. But I'm going to go Love and Brissett over Lawrence just for volume. As far as wide receivers go, we have Jakobi Meyers, we have Parker Washington, and then we're still kind of monitoring the return of Brian Thomas Jr.
Oh, it looks like he's going to be back week 13 from what we can hear that he could make his return.
So to speak on those, I think it's going to be a little tentative and you have to taper your expectations. He's not going to come back and be, the stud maybe he was last year. So I think he still just doesn't connect with Trevor Lawrence. I think Jakobi Meyers is taking over that role. Parker Washington for sure is taking over that role. So if I'm choosing between these guys, Jakobi Meyers, I'm going to start Jakobi Meyers. I think Parker Washington is a really good play as well this week. I'm playing both of those guys over an Alec Pierce, a DJ Moore, a Ricky Pearsall for sure. And then BTJ, you're kind of tapering expectations with him. I would say sit him this week just because even the matchup is great. I get that. And you might want to take a risk on it. And maybe you're in a position where you've been playing some obscure weirdo guy and you need him back. Then yeah, plug him in there against the Titans. As far as the other running back Tootin goes, I don't think he's a bad player to have, to stash, to possibly play. When we saw Tootin in the game a couple weeks ago before he left with injury, he was really dominant and taking a lot of those snaps from Etienne. Now, Etienne's had 2 great back-to-back weeks. I see Etienne also having a great week this week, but Tootin is not someone that you just toot away, right? You think you don't boot Scoot and Tootin away. So someone to keep in mind. You're obviously going to start a Tootin over a David Montgomery. He's getting more play than David Montgomery, in my opinion. Even maybe start him over a Swift or Monangai against that matchup this week. This might be a little bit easier of a matchup for Tootin. And then Brenton Strange had a really great game this past week. The Titans are a little stingier against the tight end position, so I'm not going to foresee Brenton Strange having such a hype game that he did last week. I know we were talking about him in the beginning, and Amanda said, everybody's asking me about Brenton Strange. What do we do here? I would say taper expectations again with him. And then this Jacksonville defense is most definitely a streaming option, like I mentioned before. On the Tennessee side, there's really nobody that I'm going to start again. I'm not putting any trust in Cam Ward after one big game and after one good week. No, we're sitting him. DK, if I had to pick between the DKs, I like this DK better than the other DK. But in my opinion, he could be startable against Jacksonville. Jacksonville is a little bit tougher, but someone that you could use if you need them. But again, you don't really need to plug anybody in because they're all playing.
Oh, I have a question. Yeah. So would you start Chimere DK or BTJ if you had to make that decision?
Because he's been playing, he's been getting targets, I'd play DK. Mm-hmm. I would play him over BTJ this week. At the running backs position, we have Pollard and we have Spears. It's a very tough run defense here. So both of them are sits. If I had to lean against one, I would go Spears because of his pass catching ability for sure. One of my streaming options for the week would be Chigakonkwo. If you really want to risk it for the biscuit, clench your butt cheeks and throw somebody in there who could have big playability. Chigakonkwo could be that. The Jags are favorable against the tight end position. And in this matchup, the Titans are going to need something to get out of this 1-10 rut that they're in or whatever they're playing in. And then you're sitting the Tennessee defense.
All right, moving on to my matchup, I have Houston versus the Indianapolis Colts. So Houston last week really showed us that their defense, they're that guy. They are very, very good. I mean, they shut down the Buffalo Bills and they beat the Buffalo Bills, which wasn't on my bingo card. I was like in DraftKings making a bet and I almost took the money line on Houston because the payout was so good. And then they ended, I wake up chronically at like 2:00 in the morning. Okay, typically drenched in my own sweat because fun fact, like actively going through perimenopause as a 33-year-old, like being a woman is fucking so much fun, let me tell you. Nonetheless, in my 2 a.m. sweat wake up, usually I look at my phone and I'm like, oh, what happened when I was sleeping? And I'm like, Houston won. Why didn't I risk it for the biscuit, right? It's fine. It's fine. Nonetheless, Houston must starts Nico Collins. We are going to see CJ Stroud back, which is going to elevate that offense naturally a little bit. However, you do have to keep in mind Nico Collins is facing a very difficult matchup. Taper your expectations a little bit. You do have every starting wide receiver. So like if for some reason you have a stacked wide receiver room and you can pivot from Nico, I don't hate it. He's probably going to get the Sauce Gardner treatment now that he's with Indianapolis Colts. So like, I just worry a little bit about him. I don't think he's a sit, but he's definitely just a risky start situation. CJ does love Nico. They tend to connect really, really well. You are then dealing, obviously, CJ, in my opinion, is a sit. I'm not interested. You have plenty of other quarterback options out there. There are two wide receivers from Houston that are like iffy. You got Kirk and you got Jaden Higgins. They're the only two I'm going to consider. And if I had to risk it for the biscuit and start one, I would go Jaden Higgins ahead of Christian Kirk. Now, we did watch Davis Mills connect quite well with Jaden Higgins. And when CJ was playing, Higgins got targeted like 1 to 3 times on average. When Mills was playing, he got targeted 6 to 8 times on average. Jaden Higgins has been playing well. So my anticipation would be that they get him involved a little bit because Nico's going to be so heavily covered. They're going to scheme around their other wide receivers. So I think you could very risky start Jaden Higgins if you wanted to. And that could also be the same option of like the DK, Chimray DK from the Tennessee Titans. That could be an option. I might lean Higgins because I trust the quarterback more. I also might lean like a risky Jaden Higgins over BTJ for a little bit more upside potentially. So some options there for you. Woody Marks, in my opinion, he's a start. Like 70% of the work is what he's getting. He's getting so much of the work. And basically the biggest issue is Houston Texans suck in the red zone. They're ash trash in the red zone. And so because of that, it's taking value away. If they could convert better in the red zone, they're one of the worst performing offenses in the red zone, by the way. If they could perform better in the red zone, all of us would be so happy with how Woody Marks has been playing. So like, I think he's a start. Chubb is a full ass sit. Schultz is a wonderful streaming tight end this week. I was a full sit on Schultz last week because he was facing the hardest defense against the tight end. This week, I'm calling him a streaming option, and I would start Schultz over Fannin, over Pitty Pitts, over guys like that. The Houston defense, I don't love them as a start this week, but I don't want you to drop them. I want you to know that they have one of the best matchups for week 14, 15, and 16. Week 15 and 16 are your first 2 weeks in the playoffs. So if you are the manager of the Houston Texans, 2 options. Number 1, just play them this week and hope it works out at least halfway decent and they don't give you no points. Or if you can stash 2 defenses, keep them on your bench, pick up another streaming defense, stream them, and then keep Houston for weeks 14, 15, and 16. On the Colts side of the football, in my opinion, your only true must start is Jonathan Taylor because he's that guy. I know he's coming off of a poor week, but you don't take him out of your lineup, okay? Daniel Jones is a streaming option. I would still start him over Lawrence, over Tua, over Dart. I would sit him over Dak, Stafford, Herbert, Hurts, Allen, Maye, Jackson, all of your heavy hitters. This is just a hard matchup for Daniel Jones. I would probably consider Bo Nix ahead of Daniel Jones this week as well for some context. The only wide receiver I'm going to feel confident playing is Pittman. I don't really feel great about Pierce this week. We watched him struggle last week. I would expect him to struggle again this week. I would look at other options like Parker Washington or even Jaden Higgins ahead of Pierce, in my opinion. Tyler Warren, there's no world where you're going to sit him. Yes, this is going to be a hard matchup for him. I'm still starting Tyler Warren. He's an integral part of the offense, right? I wouldn't rule out them as a defensive streaming start. I think this would be a great option for like if you wait and don't pick anybody up from the waivers and you wait till free agency. I think that the free, what do you love, Ange? Free. Ange loves free shit. Okay, she's my dad through and through. Like dumpster diving, free shit. Like on trash day, bitches like go look for some stuff for me. Like it's her vibe. Nonetheless, I think the Indianapolis Colts could be an oddly good streaming option from a defense as well this week.
Okay, cool. And it was funny because both of our husbands called us pretty much at the same time.
Like they don't know
we're busy. They don't know we're busy.
They're not busy. We are.
Yeah. Okay. So going into New Orleans versus Miami, on the New Orleans side, the really only startable player, I keep hitting this damn table. The only startable player for me is Chris Olave. I feel pretty confident in him, like a must start. You're plugging him in pretty much every week. Now, Tyler Shuck, I hate that name. Shucky Shuck. You're sitting him. There's no relevance there. Really no other relevant wide receivers here. They got rid of some other pieces that maybe would have made him a little bit better. Now, at running back, I think, and I'm pretty sure Alvin Kamara is going to be out for a couple of weeks. We'll see how that goes. He's old, so who knows how long it'll take him to mend. But Devin Neal would be a good start here for sure. So if you can grab him off of waivers, I know we record this on Tuesday, so waivers kind of process overnight into Wednesday. So if you were able to snag Devin Neal, great pickup for you. You can put him into this play against Miami for sure. At the tight end position, I'm going to sit Juwan Johnson. I just don't see a lot of relevance from Juwan Johnson like we saw in the beginning of the season. Shuck's just been inconsistent. We're starting to see Amanda's favorite Taysom Hill just started creeping.
He's a sniper.
He's a sniper. So he's kind of taking some relevance away. And then we're sitting the New Orleans defense as well. On the Miami side, there are some more starts here. You're starting Waddle. You're starting Achane. Tua is a very viable streamer, especially if you're in a 2-quarterback league and they have a pretty juicy schedule coming forward. So if you need somebody to grab that you might be able to get off of waivers and or free, my favorite word, grab him, stash him, use him later for your playoff push. I don't even think Ollie Gordon's really worth mentioning all that much. Achane's just that guy. There's really no relevant tight end here on the Miami side with Darren Waller being out. And then the defense could be a streamer against a weak New Orleans offense for sure with their inconsistencies. So Shuck's prone to sacks, turnovers, do the damn thing.
Yeah. Did you go over Waddle?
Yeah, I said Waddle's a start.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, did we talk about Waddle or the Waddly man? I was like, did I miss that? I did. Okay, cool. Atlanta versus the New York Jets at the Jets. Atlanta, pretty simple. You're starting Drake London as long as he's back, obviously. Don't start him if he's not back. That'd be silly. Bijan, mustard man himself. Go ahead and get him in your lineup. Kirk Cousins, no, thank you. Oh, she's wearing this interesting mustard. Also, if you see it,
it looks cute.
She came, I come out of the car and I was like, that is yellow.
From work, okay? And I got compliments all day.
What's more muted on the camera?
From children? Yes, they were.
Children don't lie, though. We'll be honest. They're ruthless motherfuckers. Okay. All right. So Kirk Cousins is a full sit. Mooney had a great game last week. London was out. Okay. So keep that in mind. I think Mooney's a sit this week, in my personal opinion. I would start Mooney over like your lower tier guys. So I shouldn't say he's a sit. He's probably a streaming wide receiver option, okay? I would start like Mooney over Malik Washington. He shouldn't even be rostered anymore. If you did have him, you can drop him. DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett. I would start Mooney all ahead those guys. I would sit Mooney over though. Like I like Xavier Worthy's matchup this week. I would probably risk it on Xavier Worthy, Shakir, Wandale, Sutton, Franklin. So again, everyone's back this week, so it's situational. Algier, in my opinion, is always going to be a valid streaming start if you're desperate for a running back. He's not going to goose egg you. On a great week, he's going to get you in the teens, and on a mid-week, he's going to get you 5 to 8 points. This week, I would try to sit him if you can, because Bijan's that guy, and you don't need him, but you could use him in the future always. Pitts, good Lord. He's had good matchup. This is why we call him Pity motherfucking Pitts, okay? He stinks because he's had good matchup, and then he just sucks. So, like, I'm trying to sit him if I can. I would sit him over guys like Schultz, Otten, Henry, Gadsden. I think you can find a better option than Pity Pitts with better upside. You know what? Or Chigakonkwo, okay? The Jets are really easy. You start Breece Hall, and you sit everybody else. It's so sad. Tyrod Taylor, no wide receivers, no tight end mentionable. Mason Taylor sucks. I'm not starting the defense because they traded everyone away. And yeah, that's that.
All right. Next up, Arizona versus Tampa Bay. On the Arizona side, you know, the Bucs have a weak rush defense. They give the 4th most fantasy football points to opposing quarterbacks. So Jakobi Brissett, check mark. We're starting him. If Trey Ben,
what's his name?
Oh my God, I got it wrong. I even put it in my notes. I didn't, but I wanted to. I'm sorry. You're starting Jakobi the Donk Brissett. I almost said Brisson. Okay, anyways. So, dude, I'm so hungry. Okay, brisket? I think of brisket every time I say his name. Anyways. And then Marvin Harrison, should return. Hopefully this appendicitis gets mended. But Michael Wilson has been so relevant that I don't think you forget about Michael Wilson. I think he's still a very viable option in the offense. He's really connecting well with Brissett. Not to say that Marvin Harrison's not going to come back and also be like connect with Brissett, because we saw it happen. So monitor, Harrison's return. I think he'll be fine to come back. He'll just be down one less organ, but no one needs that organ anyways. And then obviously you're starting Trey McBride. And then as far as running back go, if Trey Benson's back, start him this week. If he's not, I think Bam Knight went out with injury, 2 weeks. He didn't leave. Okay. I thought maybe he was still facing some sort of injury, so Michael Carter could be spoken about. But Trey Benson comes back. That's what we've been waiting for. They're going to put him in as well, so he's the guy there. Arizona defense, I don't really like this week either. I think there's better options. On the Tampa Bay side, Bucky Irving's expected to return. He should take a dominant role in the backfield against the soft Cardinals run defense. But Sean Tucker's not going to be gone away. They're going to kind of split time there so that they kind of wean Bucky back into that offense. Again, you're watching the status of Baker Mayfield. By no means are you going out to look for Teddy Bridgewater to replace him whatsoever. And then if Mayfield is out, that really affects your wide receiver room. It affects Igbukah. It affects Godwin. It affects Tez Johnson. So that's something to look. No one's thinking, Teddy Bridgewater's going to throw some dimes down the field to Igbukah, right? And Igbukah's not been as fiery before. Now he was sick, and everybody's down when they're sick. But the Cardinals do have a weak secondary, so they're all options. They're not sittable guys, but just I guess wait to see what the quarterback situation is.
Yeah, wait to see the quarterback situation. If I was going to take a shot on one guy, it would be Igbukah, and that's it. Yes. Like, I'm trying to sit Tez. I'm trying to sit Godwin. A lot of people ask, like, what do I do about Igbukah? Like, you just have to wait and see. And also, like, I would still give him a shot. My only question is, like, you went right from Bucky to Sean Tucker. What about Rashad White? Yeah.
And I forgot.
Yeah. I think like my biggest question, when I was doing my notes, I noticed that wasn't one of my games. So I was like, I wonder what they're going to do, if they're going to go Bucky, Sean White, or Bucky, White, Sean. Like, it'll be interesting to see. So like at this point, when Bucky comes back, you're a little iffy on White or Tucker because we got to see the split first. Mm-hmm. So like you are trying to sit those guys in with no buys this week. That bodes well for you. You want to see what they do before you decide, because who knows?
True. Sorry, but I totally forgot about Rashad White because he wasn't relevant, and then he was relevant, and then he's not relevant. Anyways, moving into the tight end position, K. Dotton is a sit for me this week. He's especially irrelevant if Baker Mayfield is out for week 13, because that's kind of been his dude, and I'm sitting the Tampa Bay defense as well.
All right. Moving over to my matchup, which I scrolled down, so we got to scroll back on up here. We have Rams versus the Carolina Panthers. So Rams are easy because, oh my gosh, old Matt Stafford is out here. He's like, he wants to get in the Hall of Fame. He wants to get that MVP to be Hall of Fame relevant, and I love it. So Stafford, that beard, a little bit, I like it. I'm into it. I'm into the kind of like some gray in there. I'm big. I like the gray.
That's what I mean.
Yes, well, I like it. So I think we said at the beginning of the year, but like it's so goofy when you start to watch football at like we're 33, 34, and you watch football and you're like, look at like, I see Joe Flacco coming up and I'm like, that little salt and pepper, he ain't looking too bad. And I'm like, oh shit, that's how you know you're old, because the players who are also old, you're like, he's hot. And the young bucks, you're like, you look like a bib face. I can't do all that. Nonetheless, Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, that duo, the Stafford-Adams duo is insane. Kyron Williams are all must-starts, okay? You're not going to sit any of them. And then there's no tight end relevance for the Rams, and I think the Rams could be a solid streaming defensive option this week against the Carolina Panthers, because Bryce Young is just fell off a cliff, okay? And I always joke, I'm like, I need an anvil to hit that player so that I don't get beat by him. And Bryce Young had an anvil situation this week because he looked rough. Nonetheless, your only must-start on the Carolina side of the football is Tet McMillan and Rico Dowdle himself. Those are the only two guys you're going to consider. Bryce Young is a full sit, in my opinion. You have plenty of options upside of him. Chuba Hubbard is not getting enough work. He's a sit. And in my opinion, Sanders isn't getting enough work either for me to want to trust, and I don't trust Bryce Young. So he's a sit as well.
Okay. All right. Now up to my next matchup here. We got Minnesota versus Seattle. The Seahawks are one of the best pass rushes. So I was going to put Aaron Jones as a start. Made me rethink it a little bit. I wouldn't say there's really anybody who's a must start for me on the Viking side of the ball because of the poor quarterback play, because of the quarterback struggles.
Who's going to play this week if JJ's out?
Max Brosmer is an undrafted rookie from
Purdy up and be Mr. Irrelevant.
I have, like in my gut, that gut now, could totally be different, but he could be a rock star and say, bye-bye JJ McCarthy because he is bad.
Well, it's because he plays for Michigan.
Oh, I know. That my husband said it makes me so happy to see him struggle. And then I thought about, I know why. And that game's this weekend. So. O-H-I-O, baby. Okay. I never do that either. Okay. Anyway, so we're sitting JJ McCarthy for sure. I thought I would never have to even talk about Justin Jefferson as anything but a must start. You're still going to start Justin Jefferson because he's Justin Jefferson, but the poor quarterback play is really, really hurting him. It's very, very bad. And I could not even imagine how frustrated that dude is for sure. Now, maybe Max Brosmer comes in and is like, hey, that's the spark they needed. And I bet those guys miss Carson Wentz so bad. So bad. Jordan Addison is a sit. He got a big old goosey goose egg for you last week. Again, with that possible, she's looking for it. Nope, you're not going to find it. All right, at the running back position, we got Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's a full sit. Aaron Jones is the guy that they are looking at for sure. He faces a tough Seahawks defense for the run, right? Aaron Jones could be on the borderline. We kind of just had this debate. I say he's a sit. I don't trust him in this offense, but he is also probably going to be relied on heavily with this quarterback. So if you're in a spot where you have him and you don't know what to do and you don't have really anybody better options, then go with him.
This is still like getting all of the work. So like think about this and like if I was going to think Aaron Jones or Kenneth Gainwell, I'm going to go Aaron Jones because he's getting the work. Also like the short check down passes that this potential like undrafted man might need to utilize. I don't mind it this week in my opinion. Yeah.
True. And those short passes goes into TJ Hawkinson, who I'm going to say is a start this week because of the short passes. And I'm really relying on that.
Spicy.
It's a spicy. I should have picked that as my spicy. And I'm saying that because if Brosmer, which I don't see JJ passing the concussion protocol. I also think that they're going to use it as a ruse to keep him out a week, just kind of like they did to Kyler Murray. Maybe they start weaning him out of the offense and putting a better guy in. Maybe, we don't know. So I'm going to say start TJ Hawkinson this week because it could be a good security blanket situation, and I'm sitting the Minnesota defense. On the Seattle side, you're must start JSN. I mean, he is just that freaking dude. He is just on fire and not stopping at all. Kenneth Walker is also a start for me this week because of kind of a weak Vikings rush defense. They're ranking 21st in the rush defense. So it could be a really possible high game, could be a touchdown as well. And then, like I said, JSN's a no-brainer. You also can start the defense and special teams for the Seahawks this week because of that very weak Minnesota offense. Guys to start or guys to talk about as well could be Sam Darnold, could be a really good stream this week as well. If you need a quarterback, if you have him and you're debating on playing him, I don't see why that's a problem. I know he had some bum weeks. He kind of came back from the dead a little bit. I don't mind starting him. I think that with the weapons that he has, he's a guy that you can look at confidently.
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, every quarterback can play. So, like, it just depends, right? Like, I'm not going to start Sam Darnold over Jordan Love or Dak Prescott or Herbert or Stafford or any of those big names. But if you were desperate for a quarterback, he wouldn't suck.
Right. And then going into other wide receivers, really, Rashid Shaheed has just not been relevant. And look at I wrote Shaheed. And I didn't read it like that. Oh, I already did. All right. He just hasn't done anything. He's not meshing into this offense very well. JSN's the guy. You're sitting Rashid Shaheed. You're not thinking about him. And Zach Charbonnet could also be a start this week because of that weak defense, because of his goal line work, his touchdown relevance. He's, seen some snap share, sharing still with Walker, even though I think Kevin McConnell, who's the coach?
Kevin McConnell. Of the Vikings?
No, the other side. Now I'm thinking of whatever. Okay. The coach came out and said, hey, he's not sexy enough. We don't know him yet.
They're not hot. I don't know their name.
Okay. So came out and said, Kenneth Walker earned his keep. We're going to play him more. So that gives me a little bit more confidence in Kenneth Walker over Charbonnet. But Charbonnet's a good play. And then AJ Bonner at the tight end position, you're sitting him. Just really nothing relevant there. And then you can give the Seattle Seahawks defense a start, like I said.
All right, moving into Buffalo Bills versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Buffalo Bills is easy. Josh Allen. It's as simple as start Josh Allen. I know he had a bad week last week. Don't put him on your bench. He scored like 40-some points the week before that. He's the only quarterback that has that type of potential. Josh Allen. James Cook, which is single-handedly keeping the Bills offense alive and well, is a start. I also like Shedeur this week. I ended up having to put him in my lineup last week. Also, I love playing guys on Thursday night when I just want some cheering interest. I'm like, fuck it. Let's put Shedeur in. 17 points, baby. Me either. I looked and I was like, oh, I'm pleasantly surprised. He scored more than Josh Allen and the other guy I was playing against player. And I was like, I beat Josh Allen for the record on his 44-point week against you and his 10-point week. So Josh Allen was fucking scared of me. I know that's it. He doesn't. I was literally like lifting the next day and I was like, bitch is scared of me, right? No. Okay. The shit that goes through my head.
Works.
Okay. Whatever works. I also think Shedeur is a start. The Pittsburghs loves to give up a lot of points in their secondary. So they're weak in the secondary. I think Shedeur would be a great start this week as well. Other than that, like there really isn't too much relevance. If Kincaid were to play, I would play Kincaid. It's the best matchup for the tight end position, but I'm not going to play Dawson Knox. I think there's better options out there. And then if for some reason Mason Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer does play, then the Bills defense might be an option. I'm not going to play him against Aaron Rodgers because he's safer. Mason's risky and he can throw some interceptions. So I might consider that if he plays. Pittsburgh, it's a different story. There's just not a ton here. Like there's a lot of conversation. So like you're sitting both the quarterbacks. In my opinion, you're just going to risk it on DK. At least he got in the fucking end zone. I think you have more upside with DK if Mason plays. I think you're going to be happier with DK's production if Mason plays. I think you're going to be sadder when Aaron plays, but we'll see what happens this week. We just don't know what's happening, but I find it hard to sit DK in my opinion. I think both Warren and Gainwell can be started. The Bills are weak against the running back position. So both of them have good matchups this week. I think you can play both of them. They are sharing about 50-50 right now. Previous, it was like 60-40, 70-30. Gainwell's looked good, and I assume that they're going to try to keep both guys healthy and give them both opportunities. So I think both could start. I would favor Warren over Gainwell in my opinion, but I think both could be a go, and I would start Gainwell over Algier, Chuba, Tootin, guys like that. There's no tight end relevance because there's too many of them. So that's that.
Okay. All right. Moving into Las Vegas and the Chargers. So on the Las Vegas side, Brock Bowers is the only relevant player that you are going to start in this offense. And even though he has a really booty hole quarterback, he is still making it work. I want to see the 40-point Brock Bowers come back. So I'm going to speak that into existence. But so you're sitting Geno Smith, any wide receivers against the Chargers, you're going to sit this week as well. Trey Tucker, Tyler Lockett are sits. And then you're sitting, there's really any other relevant player there. Oh, Ashton Genty. Oh my gosh. Now, he did have an ankle injury, so you're watching him. So Raheem Mostert could be someone that you kind of take a look at if you want to grab him off waivers or if you already did. If Ashton Genty's healthy, put him in. He's a start as well. Just monitor his progress. And then you're sitting the defense as well. On the Chargers side is a little bit of a different story. You can start Justin Herbert. Oh man, I almost said Matthew Herbert because I get them mixed up. It's a younger and older version of each other, in my opinion. Okay, you're starting McConkey. You can start the defense and special teams. They are really a must stream this week against that Raiders offense. All right, at wide receiver, Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen are options for you. It's really just let me just throw it into the bucket and which one comes out. I'm going to trust a Keenan Allen this week. I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to trust a Keenan Allen this week.
And trust Quentin Johnston.
Okay, so we're divided. The house divided here. And then as far as running back goes, I'm kind of watching on the return of Amari and Hampton. I don't think it's going to be in week 13.
No, they just cleared him for practice this week. So I would assume week 14. Yeah. You might be lucky.
I think as you go into that really deep playoff push and into the actual playoffs, you're going to see Hampton back. Yes, I have him. I need him. So Kamani Vidal here could be a start for me. Mm-hmm. He's kind of been a reliable guy. I don't have a problem with that. And then Rhamondre Gadsden, start him as well. He's been really solid. He's been like a wide receiver and you're starting that defense, just like I mentioned.
Love it. All right, my last matchup of the week, and they're both coming off by the Denver Broncos and the Washington Commanders. So Denver's a little bit easy. Well, I shouldn't say that. Denver, you're going to start the Denver defense. Fire that shit up, baby. They're really good. I think Bo Nix is a streaming quarterback this week, a valid option to throw in your lineup. I would start Bo Nix over Jared Goff. I would actually start Bo Nix potentially over Jacoby Brissett as well. I would start him over Caleb Williams and also Daniel Jones this week. Both wide receivers, Sutton and Franklin. I know Franklin has kind of slipped in and been showing us far more targets than Sutton has. Both of them are starts this week. This is a great matchup for them. Very weak. The Washington Commanders are very weak against the wide receiver. I love both of them. I would lock them both in your lineup confidently. I think they're going to both equally have great games. Again, with RJ Harvey, to me, he's a start this week. J.K. Dobbins is on IR. He's going to get the bulk of the work. And I'd be starting RJ Harvey over a Breece Hall, Gainwell, Monty, Bam Knight, all of those fringe guys, any of the Washington Commanders running backs, right? I'm going to take the upside of how much work RJ Harvey's going to get. Ingram, in my opinion, there's better streaming options out there. Everyone's playing this week. He's just not getting enough of the work, in my opinion. And then I already said it, but the defense is a great streaming option. The Commanders, on the other hand, they're just in shambles. Now, we don't know if Daniels is coming back or not this week. He might end up, after that injury, I can't believe that.
His arm in half.
Ew, it was disgusting. So I don't love that. I don't know what's going to happen. They're not doing great. So I don't love any of it. They're also facing one of the hardest defenses in the league against the Denver Broncos. I'm trying to sit Deebo Samuels if you can. I would start a Jawan Jennings, a DJ Moore. I would even risk it for the biscuit on a Jaden Higgins. I'm trying to get Deebo Samuels on my bench. And I would start Watson, DK, Sutton, Franklin, all ahead of Deebo Samuels as well. McLaurin, there's rumblings that he might be coming back too. Just keep your eye on it. I don't have any advice on that. If for some reason it doesn't end up coming back and you need advice, obviously comment, ask the questions. That's what we're here for. Chris Rodriguez and JCM. JCM's a full set. We're done with Bill. He's a sit for me. Chris Rodriguez would be the only fringe possibility if I was desperate for a running back and I needed an option. He's been involved enough for me not to hate my life when I play him. He does get involved in the pass game as well. Zach Ertz is a possible stream. Jaden Daniels loves his tight end, so that feels better for me if Jaden Daniels is back. He would be a tight end. I would start Ertz over Loveland, Ingram, and Mason Taylor, but I would sit him over Theo Johnson and Dalton Schultz. Guys like that. And then the defense for the Commanders, absolutely freaking not. And that's my last game of the week. Let's do it. Last game, Ange.
All right. Last game Monday night here. We got New York Giants versus New England. There was a lot of news there. On the Giant side, Jackson Dart.
Say short.
Jackson Short. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Jackson Dart should be back. His rushing ability makes him a must start here in this matchup for sure. Other guys, I think Wanda Robinson at this point is a must start. He's carved his way into this offense, even with Brissett, even with Jameis out and in with Dart, he's still going to be a relevant player. He's a short pass receiver. Dart's going to target him more. He's going to be a good guy here. On the running backs, Tyrone Tracy, I don't like him. The Patriots. Oh my gosh. The Patriots defense is very, very good against the running back position. Tyrone Tracy, I just don't really like him. Yes, he's the main back, but there are better guys out there if you have on your bench or on your roster to play over him. And then Theo Johnson is another start. He's a really good guy for Jackson Dart for sure. As a receiver kind of in the tight end position. I think the only other guy I didn't mention was Darius Slayton. And Singletary, yes. And I get those two guys mixed up. There's a lot of people that I get mixed up, apparently. I would watch them. I don't like them as starts this week. I like Wandale as the start for sure on this offense. And then the defense, I'm not going to play either for the New York Giants. Going in to the Patriots side, I thought I just got the teams mixed up, but I didn't. You are starting Drake Maye. You are starting Rhamondre Stevenson if he's, kind of in the mix again, which he will be because Daddy Vrabel does not like just one running back.
Did you know what his split was? I'm looking.
I don't know. You'd have to look that up. And I'm definitely starting Travion Henderson, and then you're starting Stephon Diggs as well because Stephon Diggs is the guy. He didn't put up great points last week. Moving into other wide receivers, Kayshon Boutte would be the only guy I'd probably trust other than Diggs in that wide receiver room for New England. Really the only other relevant guy there. All of them else are kind of hit or miss. The Giants are vulnerable to the deep ball. Kayshon Boutte's good against the deep ball. I think that's a guy to go with. And I'm sitting Hunter Henry this week. He was a great play last week. I don't feel confident in him. The Giants are usually and generally solid against the tight end position. So I think this will be kind of one of his dip weeks. And then maybe he goes back up and dips back down. And I am not really thinking about, because there's better options out there with everybody playing the Patriots defense.
Yeah. For the record, Rhamondre Stevenson did only see 30% of the snap count. Now, maybe Donnie Vrabel's like, well, he's healthy, so we'll give him more, but hopefully freaking not. Because in my opinion, like Henderson should be the clear start and Stevenson should just be the sit. Like that should just be how it goes. All right, friends. Well, let's wrap it up with your favorite segment. Our mother is calling us.
Oh, no.
She called me already. I swiped it. We're recording. Okay. Nonetheless, let's wrap with our sweet and spicy starts of the week. I'm going to go with my sweet start of the week, which is my boy, Josh Allen. If you got him, flaunt him, start him. Don't question it.
Hell yes. My sweet start of the week is Troy Franklin, leads Denver in targets. I know Amanda said Sutton's also a really good start here. I like Troy Franklin better. I get real excited when Troy Franklin gets the ball.
I love it. He's just like kind of cute. He's just like little, I like him. Okay. All right. My spicy start of the week is Xavier Worthy facing a kind of booty hole Dallas defense. They let up a lot of points. I think both Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, like Rashee Rice is that guy. He's going to be relevant, but I think Xavier Worthy is going to get himself involved, get some deep pass action going. I don't hate that for a start of the week. It's spicy as shit, but I like a little spicy.
Okay. I like even spicier. Not really, because I die if I eat like a jalapeno pepper, but I'm sorry, pepper. My scale, Angela's scale, pepper. I don't know what else. Okay, anyways, Chig Okonkwo is my spicy start of the week. Yes, he is on a poor ass offense, and they are kind of facing a defense that I think could give him the opportunity if the Titans need somebody to look for. This is the guy they're looking for, Chig Okonkwo, my sister.
Well, I love it, friends. That's another week of NFL fantasy football with some weird game times and great holiday games. Listen, there's nothing better than when everything's messy and the family's around. You can sit down and watch a little football and tune out all the noise, okay? So enjoy your Thursday.
It's a true rot day. You eat the shit out of some Thanksgiving turkey dinner and then you rot in football.
Rot, baby. And for the record, I don't have to cook shit for Thanksgiving. That girl is cooking all of it for me. I just get to show up for this event, which is just lovely. Nonetheless, guys, have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. And if we don't say it enough, we are so damn thankful for all of you. We're having so much damn fun with all of this. I'm super thankful for this girl right here. To be able to be with her and to film and to do this in person is so much fun. So have a great week 13. We're sending you all of the good vibes and we are running into the playoffs. So buckle in, get ready. And if you haven't joined the Patreon yet, you should do that now because now is definitely the best time. All right. See you guys. See ya.
And I'm just going to go straight raw dog. On the Tampa Bay side, Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving is expected to be back. He should dominate touches. Oh, no.